morning. In the last class we discussed about the energy release from explosives when the explosive composition was such that it was either stoichiometry or it was sort of fuel lean, that is fuel lean, or let us say the oxygen rich. When we said something is stoichiometry, what we meant is the chemical reactions take place such that completed products of combustion are formed, and the particular equivalence ratio which we defined in the case of a vapor air mixture was, we said, equal to 1, equivalence ratio was 1. When we said fuel lean or oxygen rich, we mean there is excess oxygen which is available more than what is required for the completed products of combustion to be formed. Therefore, completed products of combustion are anyway formed and we are left with oxygen in the products of combustion. And when we say it is fuel lean, well, the equivalence ratio is equal to less than 1, because equivalence ratio was defined as the actual fuel by air by weight or by mass divided by the fuel by air for a stoichiometric reaction. After doing these two, we went into the fuel rich mixtures, that means fuel rich, that means it is starved of oxygen, in which case we said most of the explosives, maybe the condensed explosives what we have are generally fuel rich, and therefore, we must learn how to do this. For this, the equivalence ratio, if we can put it in terms of some equivalence ratio, is greater than 1, which means there is not sufficient air to burn all the fuel. We found it was difficult to do this problem, and we therefore defined a way or an approximate procedure of doing this problem, and that approximate method was, we said a fuel consists of carbon, some hydrogen and maybe some nitrogen. And what happened? Let us say the molecule of fuel consists of Ca, or the mixture consists of Ca, Hb into Nc. What we said was hydrogen is more reactive than carbon, with the result in this approximate analysis, which we find to be quite reasonable for fuel rich compositions. What happens is the nitrogen first is available in the products as Cn2, that means C by 2 N2, because I have Nc atoms of this, it gives me C by 2 N2 moles in the products. After this, we look at these two, carbon and hydrogen. We told, well, hydrogen is more reactive. Since hydrogen is more reactive, it combines with the oxygen available to give BH2O in case sufficient oxygen is available for this particular purpose. Therefore, I am left with some, if I am left with some more oxygen, the A of carbon reacts to form ACO, provided I can form this, or else I just get carbon in the solid phase, and if oxygen is still left, maybe some of the carbon monoxide reacts with oxygen to form CO2. Let us do an example to determine this, and we go back to the same example of the butane air mixture to be able to do this problem. We said for a stoichiometric mixture we had C4 H10, 2 moles of it, plus we had 13 moles of oxygen, and each mole of oxygen in air had 3.76 moles of nitrogen along with it. And for the stoichiometric case, I wanted completed products of combustion. Therefore, I had 8 CO2, I had hydrogen forming 10 H2O, and I had nitrogen, which is now available as 13 into 3.76 of nitrogen in the products. We evaluated the heat content of this particular reaction, and we found that yes, in this case phi is equal to 1, the fuel air mixture in this case, that is the mass of fuel divided by air, is equal to 2, we had 58 for the molecular mass of it, and we had 13 into 32 plus 3.76 into 28, and we had a fuel air mixture as 0.065. The energy release in this particular stoichiometric composition was maybe the products 8 into heat of formation of this, that is per mole I know the heat of formation, 10 into heat of formation of water, and this was the products, we had so much of the value. We for the reactants only this was there because these are all elements at the standard state, and therefore, we had this and we subtracted this minus this with a negative sign, and we had the heat of a reaction which we calculated as equal to 5765 kilojoules. Now, we ask this question, if the reaction is starved of oxygen, that means instead of having stoichiometric composition of phi is equal to 1, let me find out if I am starving of oxygen, that means I have 2 C4H10 plus, instead of having 13 I have 10 of O2 plus 3.76 of nitrogen. This is air over here, and what is it will I get now? Can I balance this equation? How do I find the products? We told, well, to find the products I first need to assess the temperature and then do some equilibrium, find out the chemical equilibrium in which the products can be in equilibrium with each other. We can do that using Gibbs free energy, but we said, well, the problem is the method is a little complex. Therefore, we will do the approximate method. Now, we observe in this particular case, let me use a color chalk to determine this. I have oxygen which is available is 20 atoms of oxygen, and the nitrogen is going to come back to me in the products. Therefore, let us put the products down. I have 37.6 nitrogen, which is anyway it is assumed to be inert, and therefore, it is going to be come as it is in the products. Now, I have oxygen atoms which is 20. Now, I have carbon atoms which is 8. I have hydrogen atoms which is 20. Therefore, you have 10 O2 plus 3.76, I have 2, therefore, 20 of this. Therefore, if I have to form, if hydrogen is more reactive, well, the oxygen atoms first come and react with the hydrogen over here, and therefore, I can form 10 H2O. Let me do this. If I form 10 H2O, I have consumed 10 atoms of oxygen while forming water, and therefore, the oxygen atoms I am left is minus 10, which is equal to 10 atoms are still left. Out of these 10 atoms which are left, I have 8 carbon atoms. Well, if I want to form CO2, I need 16, but I have only 10. Therefore, what happens is the 8 carbon atoms combine with 8 of the oxygen atoms to form 8 CO, and still what I am left with is 10 minus 8, 2 atoms of oxygen are still left. And now, these 2 atoms of oxygen of the 8 CO which is formed, I take 2 CO and react it with 2 oxygen atoms to form 2 CO2, and therefore, what are the products which I am able to form? I am able to form 10 H2O, and then I am also able to form 2 CO2, and out of 8, 2 have come over here. That means, I am left with 8 minus 2, that is 6 CO, and therefore, the products of combustion, if I have to write, I will write it as 36, that is the nitrogen as it is, plus 10 H2O, plus I have 2 CO2, plus I have 6 CO. See, in this way we are able to balance the reaction, and we find that if I calculate the energy content or the heat of this reaction, as I said, well, it works out to be quite logical and quite near to the experimental values. And the reason for that is the temperatures, whenever we talk in terms of fuel rich reactions, are not very high, so that the dissociation and other things which govern the products are really not present, and these approximate methods work well. Well, for this reaction, let us put down what is the stoichiometry, what is the fuel by air content by mass. For this particular reaction, if I have to find out what is the fuel by air, well, fuel, we said it is 48 plus 10, 58 into 2, that is 116 grams. Air is equal to 10 into 32 plus 3.76 into 28, that is something like 137.28, and this, the fuel air ratio comes out to be 0.084. 0.084. Compared to 0.065, the fuel air ratio for this fuel rich mixture is 0.084 and the stoichiometric coefficient now comes out to be, the actual is for this case is 0.084 divided by 0.065 for the stoichiometric case, and the equivalence ratio of this mixture is 1.29. Therefore, this fuel rich mixture has a equivalence ratio of 1.29 and the fuel air mixture is 0.084. I want to determine what is the heat release in this reaction, and to be able to get the heat release I have to calculate the heat of formation of the products, I have to look at heat of formation of the reactants, and the decrease in the heat of formation is what gives the energy released in this particular reaction. Therefore, let us do that. We note that the heat of formation of CO2, we had taken it earlier and that was equal to minus 393.5 kilojoule per mole. The heat of formation of carbon monoxide, we had told that it is equal to minus 110.5 kilojoule per mole. Well, these are all available in the form of tables. The heat of formation of water at the standard condition is equal to minus 286.7 and the heat of formation of butane, we said, was equal to HF dot was equal to minus 124.7. Therefore, if now I want to calculate the total heat of formation of the products, what is it I do? Well, nitrogen is 0 being an element, naturally occurring element. I have to calculate the heat of formation of these three things, and let us do it. We have 10 H2O, let me put it here, 10 into minus, you have for water the value is minus 286.7 plus I have 2 into minus, we have for CO2 minus 393.5 plus I have for 6 into I have minus 110.5, and this is the net heat of formation of the products, and this comes out to be minus, I have minus 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 over here, this comes out to be minus 4317 kilojoules for the products. When I look at the reactant side over here, well, oxygen is 0, nitrogen is 0, I have only this, and the heat of formation here is minus 124, and therefore, the heat of formation of the reactants is 2 into minus 124.7. Therefore, the net heat of the reaction is equal to minus of what is for products minus 4317 minus the value of minus 2 into 124.7, which if I calculate comes out to be equal to 4068. We will observe that in the earlier case of a stoichiometric reaction, we had for equivalence ratio of phi is equal to 1 stoichiometry, it was 5765. When it is fuel rich, well, the energy release is lower at 4068. And this is how we calculate the energetics of the reaction. Supposing we are interested per unit mass, I am interested in the mass of this plus mass of this, I divide it by the mass of the reactants, I get the energy release per unit mass. If I am interested in a particular volume, I say how many total moles are contained in the volume. This is for the moles which are contained in this reaction, I multiply by the total moles in the volume, I get the energy release, and this is how we do it. You know, we must do one more problem relating to to fuel rich composition such that we are absolutely clear how to determine the products, and having determined the products, how to calculate the energetics of the reaction. Therefore, I will go to the next step of this. I still consider the last case, wherein let me assume that it is terribly fuel rich. I have two C4H10 plus I have only 5, let us say, of oxygen plus 3.76 nitrogen. I want to first determine what is the fuel by air ratio. Well, it is quite simple now, we are used to this. We say fuel by air, mass of fuel divided by mass of air. Mass of fuel is equal to 2 moles of this. Per mole of this, I have 58 over here. Now I have 5 into the mass of air 32 plus 3.76 into this, we said is equal to 137.28, which gives me a number which is twice this value, which is equal to, I get the value as 2.585. Now, the equivalence ratio for this mixture is equal to, I am sorry, this should have been 0.168 and the equivalence ratio is 0.168 divided by 0.065, which was the fuel air ratio for a stoichiometric case, and this comes out to be equal to 2.585. Now, at this 5 is greater than 1, it is fuel rich, we have excess fuel. How do I determine the products? Let us do that first. Well, I do the same thing. I have oxygen, amount of oxygen, I have 10 atoms, carbon, I have 8 atoms, I have hydrogen, which is 10 atoms. Now, what happens in the products if I have to write the equation for the products? Let me erase the fuel air mixture and the equivalence ratio, which we said is 2.5, and we just make a note of it here. Well, 5 is equal to 2.58 or so for this particular reaction. I want to write the products which are coming out. First I say, well, nitrogen comes in the products as nitrogen, 5.2, 3.76 nitrogen. Now I want to find out how much CO2, how much CO, how much H2O, how much of other things are being formed. And to be able to do that, well, the oxygen first attacks the hydrogen, and I have 10 atoms of hydrogen available. I have 10 of, no, 20, 10 into 2, 20. Let us make sure we have done it. Yes, H is 20. If you have 20 of this, and if I have to form water, then I have to get, let us say, 10 H2O. It consumes all the 10, oxygen gets consumed. There is no oxygen left to burn to form carbon monoxide, and still no additional oxygen to make it carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide, and therefore, I get 10 H2O. And what is left? I get all the 8 carbon as carbon in the solid, that means as soot. And therefore, the products of combustion for this reaction are 5 into 3.76 nitrogen plus 10 water plus 8 of carbon. And if I have to evaluate what is the heat which is generated, well, I need to evaluate what is the heat of formation of the products. Let us put it down. Well, nitrogen is 0, I have 10 into the value heat of formation of water is equal to minus 286.7 plus carbon is naturally occurring element, this is naturally occurring element, this is 0. Therefore, the heat of formation of the product is just 2867 kilojoules. Why so much? Heat of formation is kilojoule per mole. I have 10 moles, this is the heat of formation. And what is the heat of formation of the reactants over here? If I were to write the heat of formation of the reactants, I get 2 into, as in the earlier case, minus 124.7, which is the 124.7 kilojoules per mole is the heat of formation of butane. Therefore, the energy of this reaction is equal to 2, you have minus, this is minus, therefore, minus 2867, because we are looking for a decrease in the net heat of formation, minus I have this over here 2 into 124.7, which works out to be equal to 2617 kilojoules in this particular reaction. Therefore, compared to when the equivalence ratio was, let us say earlier, we had equivalence ratio of 1.29, the energy release in the reaction was 4068. When the equivalence ratio has gone up to 2.58, well, the energy has still come down. And this is what we see, in practice we see when we have this cotton waste or something which is dipped in oil, and you have this cotton waste which is dipped in oil in a workshop and we light it. The amount of air available for burning is so limited that we get a thick smoke, that is mainly soot, and this is what happens when we have very fuel rich mixtures. Therefore, the conclusion which we were to draw from these type of discussions is, maybe if now we have to plot the heat of the reaction versus, let us say, the stoichiometric or the equivalence ratio, well, for the stoichiometric value for which equivalence ratio is 1, the energy release we found, that is the heat of the reaction, was equal to 5765, and if it is going to be less than 1, for which it has sufficient amount of air, that means fuel lean air rich mixture, that means we say this is fuel lean. I always get completed products of combustion and the heat of reaction remains steady, but the moment I go to equivalence ratios greater than 1, that means I look at fuel rich compositions. What is going to happen as it increases? I find, yes, when I had something like 1.29, the heat was something like 4068, when the value was around 2.6, it was around 2617. Therefore, it keeps coming down over here. Therefore, the fuel rich compositions give products whose net heat of formations are smaller, that means smaller in the negative sense, that means completed products of combustion are still not formed and the net energy released in the reaction tends to low, and therefore, the heat liberated in a reaction is something like this horizontal up to 5 or equivalence ratio of 1, and therefore, droops backwards. Therefore, this gives us an indication that if I am interested in enhancing the energy released in a chemical reaction, if I want more energy release and in an explosion, it is better that I operate around the stoichiometric value, because we also told when I operate the mixture in fuel lean conditions, what happens is the mass of the reactants go up because I have more oxygen, which is again coming back as oxygen over here, and therefore, per unit mass or per unit volume it drips over here, and therefore, it is desirable to operate the composition around stoichiometry to get more heat release or more energy of this. Well, this is how you compute the energy from a chemical reaction for fuel rich, maybe for oxidizer rich, and this is how we go about it. It is quite interesting to do these problems, and maybe if some time permits towards the end of the class, I will do one more simple problem. But to be able to quantify it, see, we must also take some examples now and then. Let us take the example of an incident which happened, let us say in Oklahoma, in the Murray building. Here you had a terrorist strike at the Murray Federal Building in Oklahoma. What happened in this case? I think it happened on 19th April 1995. Some disgruntled people, what they did was they parked a truck having some explosive in it. These explosives were essentially nitromethane. It also had some ammonium nitrate. It also had some fuel oil. When you mix ammonium nitrate and fuel oil together, well, ammonium nitrate we said earlier was oxidizer rich. Maybe we will do a problem relating the heat release in ammonium nitrate shortly. Now, fuel oil is something like carbon and hydrogen together, it could be a large chain which is thick or something. These two put together contains fuel and oxidizer, it is an explosive. Nitromethane is again an explosive, it was used as a solvent earlier. When we say methane, nitromethane, we talk in terms of CH4 is methane. Therefore, when I have CH3 and one of the H I replace by NO2, well, we say nitromethane over here. When I look at nitromethane maybe as a substance which contains hydrogen, carbon and oxygen, well, it could be an explosive because, well, carbon is a fuel, hydrogen is a fuel, oxygen 2O is something which can oxidize it, and therefore, it becomes an explosive. I find, well, in this case maybe the O2 first comes and reacts with this 3H to form 3 by 2 H2O, and then I am left with half, I am left with you have 3 by 2 H2O, and therefore, I have used 1.5 of the O over here, and therefore, what is it I am having? I am having 2 minus 1.5, that is half oxygen atom, and this half oxygen atom cannot really oxidize the carbon over here, the total into CO2, I just get half of CO and the balance half is coming as solid, and this is how we do for a fuel rich substance. Therefore, nitromethane is fuel rich. Well, fuel oil is totally fuel rich, it does not contain any oxygen at all, and therefore, what did these people do? They knew that this is fuel rich and this is also fuel rich, and if I can add a lot of ammonium nitrate to this, well, I can shift the energy release from a fuel rich substance to something like a stoichiometry by putting more and more ammonium nitrate, and they were able to release lot of energy in the explosion, and the energy release was so intense or so high that it resulted in this explosion resulted in something like 168 people dying on the spot, maybe some 680 people being killed, and something like 260 buildings around this Murray building, which was something like a 16-story building, was damaged, and something like 260 buildings in and around it were shattered. Therefore, when we use or when people use stoichiometric compositions or near stoichiometric compositions, the energy release is higher, and that is why maybe people keep adding substances like ammonium nitrate to or some other oxidizer rich substances to explosives to make it even give a higher yield of energy. Having said that, let us go to the example of, let us say, the energy released in the case of ammonium nitrate itself. Let us do that problem, and then we do one more composition, and with that I am sure we would have understood how to determine the energy release in an explosion. Let us take the example. Well, ammonium nitrate we have been talking of even earlier. We said the Texas City disaster. In 1947. What is it? We said 7,700 tons of ammonium nitrate were contained in the hull of a ship, and what happened? The chemical reactions got started, it started smoking a little bit, and later on the chemical reactions progressed to an extent that all the ammonium nitrate sort of blasted or exploded, and the explosion was extremely severe. Let us find out what is the energy release from, let us say, energy release from ammonium nitrate. We said that the ammonium nitrate was of fertilizer grade, we called it as FGAN with a coating of wax. Let us forget about the coating, let us just take a look at the energy release in ammonium nitrate. Well, you have NH4NO3 is the formula for ammonium nitrate. Well, I want to find out what are the products of this composition. To be able to find out products of composition, first thing what we have to do is determine whether this particular substance, and this substance has fuel, hydrogen, has oxygen over here, and therefore is an explosive. We have to first determine whether it is oxygen rich or is it fuel rich. Let us find out. Well, I have 4 of hydrogen, I have 3 of oxygen, 3 atoms of oxygen. To burn 4 of hydrogen, that means I can form 2H2O. I require 2 of oxygen. Therefore, I have 3 of oxygen minus 2 of oxygen. I am still left with an oxygen, and therefore, we tell this composition is oxygen rich, or rather fuel lean. Now, if it is oxygen rich, I can readily write my chemical balance equation or the chemical reaction equation. I can write NH4 NO3 is equal to, well, the nitrogen comes back in the products, N and N, N2, plus I have 2H2O. From the 2 atoms over here, I am left with 1 atom, and that gives me half O2 over here. Let us see if it is balanced. I have 3 atoms of oxygen, 2 plus 1, 3. I have 4, 2 2s are 4, nitrogen. Well, this becomes my equation, and I now know what are the products formed. And to be able to find out how much heat is released in this reaction, I know the heat of formation of water. We said we have been telling this, let us write it out. Heat of formation of water is equal to minus 286.7. Therefore, on the right hand side, I have nitrogen, which is an element, does not have any heat of formation, because I assume the products to be at standard state, this to be at standard state. Difference between them, or the drop in the heat of formation of the products compared to this, is what is the energetics. Therefore, I say this is 0, and therefore, heat of formation of the products is equal to 2 into minus 286.7, so much kilojoules, which is equal to, let us multiply 14, carry 1, 13, 16, 17, 573, so much kilojoules with a minus sign. I want to get the heat of formation of the reactants for ammonium nitrate. The heat of formation of ammonium nitrate, NH4 NO3 at standard condition, standard heat of formation, is equal to minus 365.1. Therefore, the energy released in this reaction is equal to minus of heat of formation of products minus 573.4 minus of minus, I have only 1 mole of it, therefore, I have minus 365.1, which is equal to 573, this becomes plus, minus and minus, this becomes plus 573.4 minus 365.1, and it is equal to 208.3 kilojoules. This is the energy released in this reaction. If I take what is the energy released per unit mass, that is per kilogram of ammonium nitrate, we find this heat is generated from the mass corresponding to this, and what is the mass? 1 molecular mass, and 1 mole contains, let us put this down, the molecular mass is equal to NH4NO3, N is 14 plus H4 is 4 plus I have 1 more N here 14 plus I have 16 3s are 48 over here, so much grams for 1 mole, and I add it together, the value is something like 14, 18, that is equal to 80 grams. Therefore, the energy released per kilogram of this is going to be 208.3 divided by 0.080 kilogram, which is equal to 2603.8 kilojoules per kilogram. Well, this is how we get the energy release per kilogram. In this example, we had 7,700 tons, therefore 7,700 into 1000 kilograms into the energy release. You see a huge energy which gets released in this reaction. This is how we get for an oxidizer rich explosive, and we first find out whether the explosive is oxidizer rich, fuel rich, and then find out the energy release. Therefore, this is how we do different problems. Let us do one last example. We will consider again a solid. This was a solid substance over here. Let us consider another last example, in which case we take a fuel rich explosive, and as I keep telling, most of the explosives which are used today are fuel rich, and there is a trend in to increase the oxidizer content slightly such that the fuel rich explosive is nearer to stoichiometry and not away from stoichiometry. Let us do this example. Let us consider one particular explosive which is known as TNT. You know, when we read the paper, very often whenever there is an explosion, they say TNT equivalence of this explosion. What is this TNT? We will study this when we study the condensed phase explosives much later in this course. But when we say TNT, we mean tri-nitrotoluene TNT, that is what it stands for. What is this TNT? You know, actually if you have it, toluene is something like methyl benzene. If you have benzene, you know, benzene is a chain. You know, it consists of alternate bonds. This is one C over here. It consists of alternate double bonds over here. You have hydrogen atoms which are attached to the carbon atoms over here. Hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. This is the benzene chain. And if you replace one of the hydrogen by methyl, well, it becomes methyl benzene. And you know what is done is you have something like a methyl benzene, let us say CH3. Now it becomes C6H5, which is left here. C6H6, one is taken over here. You remove 3 of the hydrogen over here. That means you oxidize it to form toluene. That is, you have C6. We had CH3, C6H5. We have removed 3. We have left with 2. It could be OH3, which is toluene. You replace it by NO2 3 times. Well, it becomes trinitro-toluene, and this is what I said is an explosive, which is a reference explosive. It reacts very fast and generates sufficient amount of energy. We want to calculate how much energy is calculated. Therefore, if I look at the chemical composition, I say, well, CH3, C6, H2, NO2 3 times. If I were to put it in terms of this, well, I have C7, I have H5, I have N3, I have O6. Well, this is the chemical formula for TNT. I want to find out how much energy is released in this particular substance when it undergoes a chemical reaction, and therefore, the first thing which I have to do is find out whether the TNT is oxidizer rich, whether it is fuel rich, or is it stoichiometry. Therefore, to do that, I tell, well, oxygen content in the TNT is 6, the carbon content is 7, the hydrogen content is 5. Well, the nitrogen content will come to me as products of the combustion. Let us write it out. Therefore, I will write C7 H5 N3 O6 gives me, I just remove, because I do not want to carry nitrogen. I say, well, in the products it will come as nitrogen. Now, I want to find out the other products. I do not know whether, I have still not found out whether it is oxygen rich or fuel rich. I want to do that exercise. I tell, you know, first the oxygen comes and balances this, but even without it I can find out whether it is oxygen rich or fuel rich. If I were to form maybe the 7 carbon atoms into 7 CO2, I need maybe 7 into 2, I need 14 oxygen atoms. But you know, and for hydrogen I need 5/2 of oxygen atoms. Therefore, clearly I need 14 plus 2.5, 16.5. What I have is only 6. Therefore, it is a fuel rich composition. I do not have sufficient oxygen for getting completely combustion products. Therefore, it is fuel rich composition, and for this fuel rich composition I want to determine the products. Therefore, let us put the products down just based on these same arguments again. Let's find out the products of combustion. We tell, well, I have O, which is 6 atoms, carbon, which is 7 atoms, hydrogen, which is 5. Hydrogen being reactive, the oxygen atoms first strike the hydrogen and form 5/2 H2O. Therefore, let us not put it in terms of O2, we just have 5/2 H2O. Therefore, I have 5/2 of O is finished over here, and therefore, what is available for carbon, oxygen which is available for oxidation of carbon is 6 minus 5 by 2, which is equal to 3.5. Now, I have 7 carbon atoms, I have only 3.5 oxygen atoms. Therefore, 7 of the 7, only 3.5 form 3.5 CO. That is, of the 7 carbon atoms, I form only 3.5 carbon atoms, and what is left is 7 minus 3.5. That means, I am left with 3.5 again. Carbon is still left, and therefore, what will be my products of combustion? Let us put it down. Let us put it down in a different color. We have, I have 5 by 2 H2O plus, now I have 3.5 of carbon monoxide plus 3.5 of carbon in the solid form. Well, this is how we determine the products of combustion. We say when TNT explodes, well, I get nitrogen, I get water, I get carbon monoxide, I get carbon as a free substance, and once the products of combustion are known, well, I can find out the heat of formation. It is a simple job. Let us now put down the values over here. Let us put down the heat of formation. The heat of formation of TNT, now people measure it, it is available in literature. The standard heat of formation of TNT is minus 54.4. We have already used the heat of formation of carbon monoxide is equal to minus 110.5 kilojoule per mole here, and heat of formation of water, which we have been using all along, is equal to minus 286.7. Therefore, what is the net heat of formation of the products? Well, let us write it above the reaction. This is my reaction. Well, for nitrogen, standard element 0. For water, it is 5 by 2 into the value of water is minus 286.7. I have 3.5 CO, therefore, I have 7 by 2 into CO per mole, it is 110, I have 7 by 2 moles minus 110.5. Carbon is again an element, well, it is 0 over here, and therefore, the net heat of formation of the products is equal to, if I were to take it down, I have this value as 716.75 plus I have minus over here plus within the bracket I have 386.75. This is the so much kilojoules is the heat of formation of the products. If I take the value of heat of formation over here, well, we said it is minus 54.4 kilojoules because I have only 1 mole. The heat of formation of this is minus 54.4 kilojoule per mole. I have 1 mole, it is 54.4, and therefore, the net heat released in this particular reaction, if I were to write it on the other side, is given by minus of minus 716.75 plus I have 386.75 minus the value of minus 54.4, and this becomes plus and this becomes minus, and the net heat release for this particular reaction comes out to be 1049.1 kilojoule. This is the net heat of the reaction. I want to find out how much heat is generated by 1 mole of TNT over here, and what is the molecular mass of this? 1 mole contains 12 sevens 84 plus 5 89 plus 28 into 3 plus 6 into 16, and if I calculate the molecular mass of TNT, the value is 227 grams per mole, and therefore, the energy release per kilogram is equal to 1049.1 divided by 0.227 kilogram per mole, and this comes out to be equal to 4620 kilojoule per kilogram. Well, this is how we calculate the energy release, and mind you, we did the simple calculation, and if I do an experiment and measure the energy release during the explosion of TNT, you get a value around very similar to this, around 5420 kilojoules per kilogram. Mind you, in this we had a number of assumptions. Mind you, we took water in the products of combustion, namely we had H2O in the liquid phase, maybe at high temperature water evaporates. We did not consider equilibrium of products at the product temperature, but still we find, well, the energy release what we calculate comes out to be very close to what is experimentally measured. And this is how we determine the heat of release for different explosives, whether it is oxygen rich, whether it is stoichiometry, or whether it is fuel rich. Having said that, since we talked of the different reactions, it is also interesting to find out, some people use some ready-made values of energy release. We call them as calorific value or heat value of explosives. And whenever we talk of heat value, which is nothing but the heat is calorific value. People talk in terms of higher calorific value, that is higher and lower calorific value. What is this? How can a chemical reaction give two values of heat release? Now, it so happens, whenever we talked of reactions, see, we had the explosive on one side, or the chemical reaction consisting of reactants on one side, and we had products which are being formed. When products are being formed, one of the products was essentially water, H2O. What happens is, if in the products H2O is available in the form of water, well, we are getting the total energy out from the products, and it gives a higher value of calorific value. If this water were to get converted into steam, what is happening during conversion? It takes some amount of energy from the water. That means the latent heat of vaporization, let us say, for steam is equal to something like 45 kilojoule per mole, plus the water also has to be heated, because we are forming products at the standard condition of 25 degrees. Therefore, you also have sensible heat corresponding to Cp per mole of water into something like 100 degrees is the boiling temperature, 100 degrees centigrade is the boiling temperature at ambient conditions. We are referring it to 25. Therefore, I have to supply so much of heat. Therefore, in practice, when the water evaporates, I will be talking in terms of lower calorific value, because I am using some of the heat generated in the reaction to be able to evaporate the water. Therefore, what happens is, whenever we form water from the water in the products of combustion, if I assume that the water is converted to steam, then my net heat value is shorter by the amount of sensible heat and the latent heat of vaporization of water, which I call as lower calorific value. If I presume that in the products the water is available, it cools down and the energy gets liberated during the condensation of steam, that means water is available in the product, I have the value of higher calorific value. Well, these are the different terminologies, and we can use either higher calorific value or lower calorific value depending on the conditions of the particular explosion what we have. One last thing which I want to add during these discussions, we have done the energy release, but we must also remember something. We talked in terms of heat of formation, and when we talked of heat of formation, we presume that we are talking of constant enthalpy. We say, well, the heat of formation, enthalpy of formation at standard condition. If I consider, let us say, a constant volume, at constant volume I am exploding something. I have a mixture which explodes at constant volume. You can tell, why is it you use enthalpy? Enthalpy is a constant pressure system. You are considering a constant volume. Therefore, if I assume constant volume, I must use the internal energy, or rather I must use constant volume Cv into delta T and not Cp into delta T, and therefore, it is possible for you to work with internal energy of formation. That means, instead of using delta Hf, which is the enthalpy of formation or heat of formation, it is also possible to use the internal energy of formation if we want a problem to be solved for a constant volume explosion. What is the internal energy? We say, well, enthalpy is equal to U plus PV, and therefore, U is equal to H minus PV, and we are talking of enthalpy per mole over here, and therefore, when I write this, I am writing as H heat of formation minus P, that is the volume per mole of the substance. This is the energy over here. Well, PV is equal to N R0 T, this is per mole, therefore 1 over here, therefore I can write it as H minus R0 T is the internal energy, and tables of internal energy of formation are also available. And if we want to do an explosion problem in which we are considering a constant volume explosion, well, I can use the internal energy of formation instead of the heat of formation in terms of the enthalpies. Well, this is also one of the cases, and you will also recall when we talked of blast waves, we talked in terms of the Gurney velocity, which we said was equal to 2 into u under root. Here it was essentially what we talked as the internal energy of the explosive, which was here u over here. Therefore, you can use both the internal energy of formation in the same way as we use the heat of formation and do the explosion problems. Well, this is all about the energy release in an explosion. We talked in terms of stoichiometry, we talked in terms of oxygen rich substances, we talked in terms of fuel rich substances, and we have taken a few cases. We know how to now determine the energy release in an explosion. But in an explosion, we want the energy release to be spontaneous, and therefore, in the next class what we do is we take a look at rate of energy release. Well, thank you.